that's the hardest part as a man, is to try to get your wife to open up to these new experiences. I used to like bottle it up until the day I said, I don't give a anymore. I enjoy going to strip clubs.
I think it's just, I don't want to see him motorboat another woman.
Please, just try this once. You might like it. Hey man, I remember the first time I tried to have sex. It did mutual masturbation, toys.
How did you get your wife to open up to masturbating together?
It's just.
So I thought we could talk a little bit about strip clubs. Tom's favorite. We had a little debate about strip clubs in Las Vegas.
I don't think it was a debate.
And then it just got our brains kind of sparked on, what's the consensus about strip clubs? What do you think about strip clubs?
What do I think about strip clubs?
I want to know.
I love strip clubs. I have no problem with strip clubs. Wait, I don't know if I love strip clubs. I love the naked female body. How about that? I love that. And, do I feel like I get used and abused at a strip club? Yes. Because I spend, $1,000 and nothing happens, right? Where my wife only charges $500, so it's way better just to come home. I'm just kidding. But I mean, I enjoy going to strip clubs. I enjoy the camaraderie with a bunch of guys going to strip clubs. I enjoy going, if my wife will go with me. I would love it when my wife goes with me. And, it's just a fun time. I like having sexual experiences with my wife.
Yeah. How have you been able to get her to go to strip clubs with you? What do you how do you help a man who he hasn't been able to go to a strip club with his wife?
Well, I don't know if I can say about strip clubs per se, because my wife's always been pretty good about, no, I'll go. She'll go with me. That's no problem. But it's normally like a special occasion, right? Like 10 of us are out and we go to a strip club together or something like that. Or we're in Mexico and there happens to be a strip club, then we go to the strip club, it's not like we're like, oh, it's Friday night, let's go to a strip club, right? It never works out that way. It's more like special occasions. But I think it's not, because my wife has already been good at it, but there's things that my wife wasn't really open to, and that's the hardest part as a man, is to try to get your wife to open up to these new experiences and to just try things, because when they're scared, women are scared of some things, and I know you're like, you've never tried a lot of these things that we talk about.
Yeah.
And you're like the one that we need to convince Steven that she needs to open up and try this, be this. I mean, because, I enjoy my sexual experiences with my wife. I love them. They're one of the, you want to bring my stress level down, my negativity level down. You want to make me happy. You want me make me do everything, help you run the house, smack your ass when I walk next to you. You want me to do all that stuff. I need to have sexual experiences with you. I need to, and sometimes I question whether the bar just keeps getting pushed further and further, and maybe sometimes the bar's too far. I push it too far.
Yeah.
And so I do question that part. But to get a woman to open up to these things just takes trying. I mean, just takes trying.
Communication too.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a little. Maybe it's begging. Maybe it's not trying. It's like, please, just try this once. You might like it.
Well, what I was kind of noticing about myself was I was feeling insecure at that time when we were in Las Vegas specifically, and we were like, should we go to a strip club?
That was a week ago. Right. What do you mean that time? You're talking about it like it was years ago. It was a week ago.
But I'm saying that in that moment, I was feeling insecure because I hadn't really had a lot of time to connect with my partner around that time. And so we were having a conversation about how I wanted there to just be more communication and more openness. I wanted to feel safe in my relationship to go to a strip club.
So you don't feel safe in your relationship?
No, I do. I think that.
No, you don't. I don't think you do.
I do.
Well, let me explain. Let me explain the situation. So we're in Vegas and we're in our suite, and I think I said, how would you feel if Steven motorboated a stripper?
Yeah.
And you like said, "Oh hell no, that's not going to happen."
Yeah.
You like went off the deep end. I'm like, whoa. I mean, I didn't realize.
But what I also wanted to share was that because at that time we hadn't really been able to have a conversation or connect, and I'm letting people know that a lot of time women need to feel really safe and open and safe in their relationship.
So
and
you don't feel safe in your relationship.
That's an everyday practice.
But you don't feel safe in your relationship. That's what you're saying.
I do feel safe in my relationship. But I'm saying that at that time,
I'm confused.
we hadn't had a moment.
Confused.
At that time, I didn't feel very safe because we hadn't had really that time to connect. And so I was feeling insecure in myself.
Did you mean that time, like that 5 minutes? Or
those days.
Or that year?
No, those days. There were just like a week period, right?
Okay.
There was a week period where I was feeling more insecure in myself because we just weren't having a lot of talks. But ultimately, that comes back to the woman not being secure in herself, right? So that's really what it comes down to. For a woman to go to the strip club, she needs to feel secure in herself, secure in her relationship. And that takes effort from both parties. And I think that sometimes that's the missing link. If you can't get your wife to go to a strip club, maybe there's something that isn't very solid there. Maybe there's something that you need to figure out where the insecurity is arising from. And a lot of times it might be in the woman.
Are you talking to yourself right now?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying, is that I was the one that was feeling insecure. And so I think that's most women. Most women are feeling insecure.
I don't think that's most women.
You don't think so? No? How come?
Well, I mean, my experience with most women is that they're really open to that kind of stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's no touching. There's no, there's no sex. There's no, I mean, there's a lot of motorboating, but, you got to put your hands back. The guy does, right? Because if you touch the girl, then all of a sudden you're in trouble.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just fun.
Yeah.
It's just fun. And I don't know if there's, insecurities between you guys that brought that out. It was a very awkward situation for me. I'm like, like I'm getting in the middle of a tense standoff. I'm like, because the middle-aged male is all about sexual freedom and fun and exploration.
How
and
do
then
you
you're
get
like,
people to open up to it? Then that's really the question.
Yeah, you just need to.
Is it more communication?
I don't know.
Go ahead. All I thought about was like just titties in my face. Like it was pretty like straightforward. I didn't like the human body. I told you it's about compartmentalization for like men. We can compartmentalize differently than females, and so those are like acts are just very singular, and our mind just. It doesn't go any further than that.
Well, I look at going to a strip club with my wife to get me and my wife aroused. And so then we go home, it's on, right? It is on. I know I'm not going home with that stripper unless I give her $10,000 or something like that. I'm not going home with that girl. And so it's just a lot of fun in a sexual experience that hopefully enhances your own sexual experiences, and makes things better. But I mean, I think we're learning that you need a lot of help in enhancing your sexual experiences.
But the question is, like, what would you say to your wife to get her to open up? Like, what advice do you give to men who have women who aren't as open?
So women that don't want to go to a strip club, is that what you're saying?
Well, I mean, I guess. I'm just saying that if I for the record, I've been to strip clubs and I am open to going to strip clubs. I never said that I wasn't.
But you did say he can't get motorboated.
I did say that would make me a little uncomfortable, yeah.
You didn't say a little uncomfortable. I think you said a little more harsh terms than that.
Yeah.
Oh, hell no, that ain't happening.
That would make me uncomfortable because it's just watching. I mean, at this moment in my relationship, I just feel like I'm not at a place where I want to invite other people into it. But that doesn't mean that I don't want to in the future necessarily. And this is something that...
But you think that he's going to... So what this says to me is that you think that this woman's a threat, and you think Steven could leave you for this woman.
Well, I think that it doesn't I think that being uncomfortable watching your man motorboat another woman is different than that. I don't really feel like it's the same as having fear over him leaving me. I think it's just I don't want to see him motorboat another woman. Because why would I want to when I would want him to motorboat me? But it doesn't necessarily mean that it wouldn't be in the future, you know? I mean, we've talked about this before, like Stephen, help me out. We've talked about this before.
Like what?
Like that you can, you know, I mean, it's not necessarily something that we're not open to doing things in the future. It's just that right now we're not really interested.
We?
Yeah. Well, at least that's what
so you speak
we
for
had
Stephen
talked about
too.
before.
I question
that's
sometimes.
what we had talked about before. Yeah,
I know. I question sometimes if you really speak for Stephen, but Stephen does not tell me that. Stephen won't open up to me about that.
But I think that's just the difference between men and women. Men being able to compartmentalize it in a different way. You know, that's definitely something that's wired differently in men's and women's brains. Which is why I think that the communication is important.
I don't know. I mean, most of the women that at least the people that are in my zone, don't have any problem with that. You know, if my wife saw me doing that, she'd be like, "Yeah, good luck, Tom Schultz. Good luck." You know. And if I saw some man hitting on my wife, I'd be like, "Pay the water bill. That's all I ask." You know. It's just. But I know that's just the place is just a tease. Now, don't get me wrong. You go to a bar. And some woman walks over and does it to him. I would get you be upset about that.
Yeah.
But and for the fact that these people are just being paid,
to do this
for the entertainment value, you know, it says to me like, okay, we can get away with a little bit more here.
Well, yeah, and I understand that about strip clubs.
You do now because you didn't last week. So I'm just making sure that when Stephen and I go to a strip club where we can put the wall up, because I'm not sure how far we're allowed to go, Stephen.
The wall's not on motorboating, but I'm not saying that you can't go to a strip club.
So he can't motorboat, or he can?
Can't.
He can't. He still can't. He still can. Okay. Fair enough. We're going to get you to open up. We're going to get you to open up to this.
And maybe it's just something that happens with age. Journey of life, I guess.
It does, because I would say that my wife was very similar to you at your age. You know, very conservative, very, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. You know, I don't touch myself. I don't use sex toys. I don't, you know, and all this stuff. And it just takes time to you know, it took me a lot of time to get her to open up to the sexual freedom.
Yeah.
You know, to the pleasure that you get with each other. You know, there's so much more pleasure to sex than just having sex.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, you know, the masturbation, you know, mutual masturbation, you know, toys.
How did you get your wife to open up to masturbating together?
It's just, you know, I think that just one day I just said, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit anymore. I'm going to, you know, my mind is exploding with these sexual desires of my wife, and, you know, and she's not really open to it. So finally one day, I don't know if, I hope my kids don't watch this, but one day I just laid next to her and just, you know, I just masturbated next to her. And she was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, you know, she might have been working or something. She works from home on a computer. I'm like, I'm just going to do this. And that just like opened the door to like sexual exploration, to where I just finally said, you know what? I'm not going to hide this shit anymore, because, you know, 90% of all men masturbate and the other 10% lie. Steven lies about it. He says he doesn't do it. And I know he fucking does it. You don't think he does, but he does. He does. You tell me he doesn't, but he does. Everybody does. You know, I can have sex in the morning and jerk off at night, man. It's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes. It's just men just, I mean, especially when you're full of testosterone and you're ready and you're just the guy that wants to go. It's just the way you feel. And so I want to have sex every day. I want to have sex all the time with my wife. I want to explore. I want, you know, and until I finally just, you know, I used to like bottle it up on the inside, you know, like, why aren't we doing these things? until the day I said to myself, I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm just going to be me. And if she don't like it, you know, whatever's going to happen. Right. And she liked it. Fortunately, she liked it, you know? And so our lives just improved. I mean, so much.
I think it was like exposing the truth and not being afraid to show it and talk about it. I think that's really what it is.
Yeah. And listen, there's nothing, I mean,
instead of hiding it, I mean, you just came out and started talking about it rather than bottling it up like you did for years.
Right. And I think some
that's
women...
That's why we're having this entire show, by the way, is because that's exactly what we talk about. All these weird, taboo, and uncomfortable things that nobody talks about because it actually changes people's lives.
Right. So the first time that you masturbate in front of Steven, you're going to turn the shit on out of this guy, man. This guy is going to freak out. He is going to be so excited. It's just incredible, man. It's just incredible because you don't think when Steven is taking care of his own self that he's not watching some porn or watching something that, you know, that he's
so wait, do I have to watch porn if I'm gonna masturbate?
Well, I don't know what you're thinking about. I don't know what else you're doing. Yeah, I guess you don't have to, but 99.999% of people do, Steven.
Which category do you suggest?
Which category? You don't want to know my categories because I got issues. But
I have to say I'm with Courtney Ryan on this one. I'm not really an advocate for porn.
Of course you're not. Of course you're not. Because women don't need porn. Men need porn. Men need porn.
More because of all the other psychological parts of the porn industry, but men needing porn because, you know, there's such lack of intimacy in relationships available to men right now.
No, that's not true. That's not true. That's not the truth.
What's the truth?
The truth is that men are sexual deviants in their mind, right? And they just want to have orgasms all the time. So if your wife gives it to you once a week, once a month, once every 3 months, for God's sake, you are compensating. You know, most men can only go 2 or 3 days without taking care of business. And so they need a stimulant to take care of business. Right? And if your wife's not going to be that stimulant, your wife's not willing to be that stimulant.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Then you need to find some outside stimulant, which happens to be, you know.
That's what I was referring to. Is men are using porn because
but I didn't really want to do it out loud.
Yeah, because they don't. Well, I mean, it just comes back to if I'm not getting bread at home, I have to go to the bakery to buy it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right. The problem is that when you're addicted to bread, no matter how much you're getting, you want more. And so you take care of that more by yourself, usually inside a bathroom with a locked door or in the shower when you're getting ready in the morning or sometime like that.
Is this the dark side of TRT?
Well, I mean, it's definitely the dark side of TRT, but also the dark side of just being a young man up until you're 35 when you're testosterone. So this guy, you don't think this guy is jerking off all the time? Just believe me. Believe me. I know you don't want to talk about it. I know you don't want to believe it, but it's happening. And when you go home today, she's like, "No, honey, I'm not, honey. I'm not, honey. I promise you I'm not." I'm like, "Bullshit, you're not." Anyways, so the minute that you stop hiding it and start exploring it with your significant other, man, everything just becomes better. Everything becomes better.
I think that goes across the board with life. Like the minute that you stop hiding from whatever it is that you're hiding from and you just come out and talk about it and just be open to all of it, that's when everything does get better.
Okay, so you've said that you've never masturbated before.
Yeah.
So I think that for the next episode, you need to try it.
Did you do your challenge from our last episode? Did you take your wife on a date?
I took my wife shopping.
Did you practice your sexual communication?
I don't know about that, but I took my wife shopping. I said, she wanted to go shopping. I said, okay, you can buy anything you want. And you know what she bought? 1 pair of shoes. That was it. She had an unlimited budget, thousands of dollars. She bought 1 pair of shoes.
Really?
She was like, I couldn't find anything. Saved me a lot of money. So that date was great. That date was perfect.
Okay, we have a challenge then. So we're going to do the masturbating together.
The mutual masturbation.
And then see how it
Look at
rocks our
Steven's
world.
smile over there. Steven is
excited,
smiling
man.
over there. Huh?
Can't wait to get those Asian women on my phone.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. Oh my goodness.
I live vicariously through Tom.
That's Tom's favorite porn category.
100%.
Quit looking at my history.
That's funny.
Oh.
Okay, what's your wife's favorite sex toys? What are your favorite sex toys that you guys have discovered?
I mean, just a simple vibrator, I think, is all you really need. I mean, I've owned, because I'm in a liquidation business, so I buy truckloads of stuff. I've owned the big old machines that, go in, and the silicone vaginas. I've owned all those things. And I may have tried 1 or 2 of them in my life, but, it's, I just think that, having a simple vibrator on your wife's clitoris while you're having sex just changes everything. The ball game just changes.
That's pretty good.
The ball game just changes, and
Yeah.
and to get her to use it on her own, ball game is just changed.
Yeah.
Because I really tried to see if we can stimulate her before I get stimulated, right? I try to before sex, try to get her to have a couple orgasms before we get started, because then it seems like our sex is way more enjoyable. It's way more fun. She seems to have more orgasms whenever she does that.
And she's already loose.
Yeah. She's already loose. She's already excited, and then I don't have have to worry about performing for a half hour, right? Because it can be. I think they said the average time for a man to orgasm is like 5 minutes, and a woman is 7 minutes. So if you just go straight to sex, typically a woman, and I what really bothers the shit out of me is like how many years I wonder, like, did my wife not orgasm during sex?
Yeah, that happens with a lot of people.
And I just wasn't conscious about it or understood about it.
Yeah. I think that that's a really big problem. Women tend to fake orgasms, which is a big problem, because they don't want to wait, or they don't have the patience, or they're not really as into it as they should be. They're not as loose, or they weren't warmed up, or they're just, at the end of the day, not into it, And I think that is definitely a game changer. I'm excited to reintroduce some of these things.
Yeah. It's very challenging for a young man who hasn't learned. I don't know if it's confidence, because I think in my younger years I probably wasn't very confident in
like wanting to bring up new ideas, or wanting to talk about things that you wanted to try, or confident in what ways?
Well, I just think confident in my sex life, confident in my sexual performance. I mean, man, I remember the first time I tried to have sex. It didn't happen. I couldn't even figure it out, man.
Yeah.
This girl snuck into my house. My parents were downstairs. I mean, I didn't even know what to do, man. Is it in? I have no idea. I have no idea. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. And I don't know. And now I have 2 sons. 2 sons that are 16 and 13, and I'm like, what should I teach these guys? How should I explain to these guys what the right thing to do is? Probably nothing, right? Abstinence, right? Abstinence. That's the best thing to teach them. But I don't know if that's a real reality. I don't know if it wasn't a reality when I was growing up. Now, things seem to be different nowadays.
Yeah, things do seem a lot different nowadays because of technology and screens. I feel like a lot of kids don't really hang out the same as they did before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hear like sex is way down. More 40% of 20-year-olds are virgins, and It's just a different world right now. It's just a different world with technology, video games, social media, online dating. It's like a minority of the girls are having the sex with more of the guys, and so that leaves a lot of women virgins, a lot of guy virgins. I don't really understand it. I don't know how to give any advice to it. I only know how to deal with middle-aged men. So I'm going to stick to that topic.
Well, middle-aged men is, who we're talking to, so that's good, mostly. Although, to figure out how to help the youth is definitely going to be something that we want to talk about. We were watching Joe Rogan's interview with Jonathan Haidt, and he was talking about the rise of depression and anxiety among people since the smartphone, like in the 2010 to 2013 kind of range, and just how COVID was only a blip in the upward trend of just depression and anxiety, and people who are more isolated than ever. And I think that people do need to get out again and be more open and just be together, and that exploring sexually is always a good thing. I mean, I don't know about necessarily talking to the youth or, age kind of stuff, but at least if it comes to people in their middle ages, and if you've been isolated for some time and it's time to get out there again, then it is time to get out there again, The world has changed, and we're on the other side now, and the only thing that you can do is go forward and start to communicate about these things and start to actually practice them, and, take your life by the reins.
Yeah.
And implement new ideas and strategies, and just keep going and make new discoveries.